All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our third staff presentation of our PGAM presentation series. My name is Adrienne Steinruck, and I am the Administrative Assistant for the Council on Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey. Here at the Council, note that we are neither for nor against gambling. Our mission is to always advocate for providing treatment and resources to those who may be impacted by problem gambling. As it says in our company mission, we are here to provide support, treatment, and hope. As today's moderator, let me introduce you to today's presenters, Jean Swain and Leonard Brazier. Jean Swain joined us at the Council on Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey in 2024 as a problem gambling prevention specialist. Jean is also certified as an IGRS, or International Gambling Recovery Specialist. As a gambler in recovery herself, Jean blends her lived experience with her background as an accountant and community volunteer to help spread awareness of the explosion of problem gambling to many different audiences. She offers a message of strength and hope mixed with kindness and humor. Leonard Brazier is our treatment coordinator here at the council, who has an ICGC2 and is a licensed marriage and family therapist and a school psychologist here in New Jersey. Leonard's professional degrees were earned at Seton Hall University, and just to kind of throw in some fun facts, in 1978, he completed a one-year internship at the clinical psychology at Monmouth Medical Center, and he has been a private practitioner and consultant since 1983.
I guess that makes me old. All right. Are you ready, Gene?
I am ready.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, hi everybody. A little technical thing. I cannot see the people on the screen because I want to make sure I have access to my notes. So if you want to talk to me, wave at me, make crazy faces, you've got to be loud enough that the system picks you up. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Welcome. As I've said, I'm proud to be a problem gambling prevention specialist. I'm passionate about the work I do, but I am not a counselor or therapist. I've had a lot of lived experience that casts a wide net. My hair is gray right here, which qualifies as lived experience already. I have been in recovery rooms since 1988, but gambling was not even more than a passing thought before my mid-50s. Late in the first decade of this century, boy, does that make me sound very old, right? I was a responsible gambler for a bit, crossed the invisible line into problem gambling, and rather than admit there was a problem, and as we say, shine a light on it, once the behavior became a problem, it became a big problem. And I rode the addiction straight into prison. I remember asking my attorney if I should go to GA. His response was to ask me if I gambled much. Naturally, I said no. Like so many other problem gamblers, even while I was looking at criminal court, this stayed hidden. I had stolen funds. That was my crime. He focused on other things in my life as the defense for the crime. I worked with a forensic psychologist for several months. He did not focus on the gambling either. It stayed hidden. In the courtroom, it was the prosecutor who first called it what it was, a gambling addiction. My last bet was placed in 2016, almost 10 years ago, but I've been in recovery for gambling for only 7 years, since I was paroled. Though not a therapist, from my early days in recovery, I have never been a proponent of one size fits all, or even one modality can be the cure for everything. Our recovery toolboxes are of various shapes and sizes. They should absolutely include the basics: hammers, screwdrivers, nails. But over time, maybe we become dependent on our favorites as the solution to every situation. Maybe we forgot other tools that have fallen to the bottom or are lost. Maybe we don't even realize that some new ones have been designed to work specifically with new developments. The objective of this presentation is to inventory the tools used the most, therapy and 12-step programs, check them for any rust and weaknesses, shine them up, remind us of those we haven't used in a while, and then see what might be new and useful for the project at hand. The webinar is designed to bring about an awareness and discussion of additional and complementary resources beyond therapy, those that are available when appropriate for the problem gambler and their concerned loved ones. Every now and then, we need to dump our toolboxes upside down and dust things off, replace and enhance as needed. In that vein, we will do a quick review of the primary essential tools traditionally used to help problem gamblers and those affected by gambling-like behaviors: therapy, Gamblers Anonymous, and Gam-Anon. Then the discussion will move to the reality of the peer recovery, peer support arena in New Jersey today, what assumptions might still be made about peer recovery rooms, where they have changed, and the wide array of peer recovery resources beyond traditional 12 steps. Next, we all understand the impact of people, places, and things. The gambler's current algorithms may be continuously triggering and creating urges. Lessening the negative impact of established protocols and using the algorithm to the gambler's advantage may aid in long-term recovery. Finally, there is a growing availability of financial tools to help the gambler structure monetary guardrails. Let's get started. So the traditional foundations of recovery for gamblers include therapy, Gamblers Anonymous or Gam-Anon, if who your client is a concerned other, an affected other, and putting up restrictions. I want to say at this point that I hope that this becomes an interactive session. If you have things that I haven't thought about and want to put them in the chat, please do. And if you have questions, please let us know. Somebody will see your hand raised, and I promise I'll be quiet for 4 or 5 seconds anyway. So let's start with the 2 traditional therapy and 12-step programs. Formal clinical therapy for gamblers has expanded in New Jersey to include not only individual licensed and certified gamblers, but also gambling-specific group therapy, IOP, and affiliated sober living arrangements. I bring that other point up about the sober living arrangements because somebody in a substance use program may go to a sober living house, but there is often a lot of gambling that happens if it's not a gambling specific house. And we've heard those complaints before, so I just want to put that out there. Additionally, many therapists have moved their practices to teletherapy, thus expanding the reach to many who viewed transportation as a barrier to care. Thank you all on behalf of all of us with lived experience. We're glad you're out there. Furthermore, there are approximately 75 active New Jersey-based Gamblers Anonymous meetings across the state. Included in this total are 19 virtual or phone meetings that are based out of New Jersey. There are also online meetings of GA that can be accessed around the country. It should be noted that prior to COVID, GA had no Zoom meetings. So this is a positive change in accessibility to gamblers in the 12-step community. Peer recovery is not so robust for those in the gambler circle. New Jersey hosts only 8 Gam-Anon meetings. I have not been able to find the statistics prior to COVID, but this number is less than before. The decline in Gam-Anon groups has led to a decline in what are referred to as sit-downs between spouses and other loved ones and the gambler. Sit-downs still exist among strong GA Gam-Anon coexisting groups, but note that there are not many meetings that are held in coordination with each other, only 4 in New Jersey at this time. I want to make this point here to bring to your attention that the need for couples therapy or joint sessions may in fact be as much or more than in the past. Why even talk about this? Well, here's a little history that's pretty recent. GA was slow to respond to the COVID shutdown. Online and Zoom meetings were not authorized for months. Even then, many only went to phone meetings. GA has always had fewer meetings than the bigger fellowships in New Jersey. The volume of meetings is still less than prior to the shutdown, though. If you are requiring your clients to attend GA or Gamanon and they say they can't find a meeting near them, it may be true, especially in the southern half of the state where there are only 19 meetings. That would be from Mercer County South. However, the sluggish response back in 2021 opened the door for other opportunities of recovery connections. Peer recovery diversified and expanded. One of the ones we refer to the most here at the council when we're on the helpline is gamblersinrecovery.com. This actually was an outgrowth of the GA program when GA was still not yet virtual. It's available worldwide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for gamblers. It also has a Gamanon type of component, but that component is not 24/7. In prior webinars, we've discussed the lack of availability for those who are not native English speakers to have other languages in a GA room. That is the case in New Jersey. All the meetings are in English. Gamblers in Recovery is multilingual. So while it's online, you may have clients who would benefit from there for many reasons, even if they're close to a local meeting. In addition to Gamblers in Recovery, many Facebook groups have popped up. They are all sizes, demographics. Some are exclusive to certain demographics or certain languages, certain cultures, women's groups, LGBTQ groups. They can be found through Facebook, and while not traditional GA, they can be quite helpful. Reddit has many threads for gambling related issues, and came through pretty quickly. Lots of great discussion. Private practices have opened online support groups. As we know, many gamblers have co-occurring conditions. An advantage and disadvantage to some of these groups is that they are not gambling specific. It can help to talk about interwoven issues with others who have similar issues. However, from experience, gambling is still minimized in severity by those who are unfamiliar with it. Therefore, if you have a client who only attends a group where gambling is not respected, they may not receive the recovery they seek. I'm going to give some examples of other recovery groups that are out there. There's Peer Connection, FOG, also known as Friends and Family of Gamblers, Gam Talk, the Broke Girl Society, Celebrate Recovery, which is an evangelical group, Catholics in Recovery, Recovery Dharma, which is Buddhist based, the Problem Gambling Support Group, and many others. If anyone here has any other peer support groups that they recommend or have heard about from their clients, please share these in the chat, along with the focus of that group if there is a specific focus. Is it religious? Is it for advocacy? Is it family oriented, co-occurring? These groups are developing all the time, and we can help each other do wonderful things if we can share this information. Does anybody have something they want to share out loud? Okay. Then let's talk about Lenny, I'm seeing you wave your hand. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I got muted somehow. I was just wondering if you could talk for a moment about your own opinion of the advantage or disadvantage of online meetings or anybody else's thoughts about that.
From my personal experience, I'm going to go back a slide.
Mhm.
From my personal experience, I um, I find the advantage to online meetings, and I do attend several regularly, is that they're convenient. I don't have an excuse not to pick up my telephone or turn on the computer at home. You know, oh, I'm late, it's 6 o'clock, I can get there. They are available at any time of the day or night. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, if there are urges, you can get into a gamblers and recovery meeting, which you couldn't get to a live meeting that way. The disadvantage, just like on this meeting, I'm going to assume, is that people stay hidden. They don't often, they don't always, I should phrase it correctly, they don't always turn on their cameras. They don't always make the connection that is so helpful in recovery, getting to know other people, feeling responsible to the group. But it is sometimes a good way for people to start to get comfortable if they feel like they're too shy or aren't ready to admit to walk into a live group. The other thing is that with the groups that are not GA, other things can be talked about. Each of the 12-step groups, as we know, that are based on the original 12 steps tend to stay in their silo and focus on the particular issue at hand. And so you can have more crossover discussion with many of these other groups that are out there, which can be helpful. Somebody who is who is dealing with substance use and gambling, co-occurring and gambling, parents who want to talk about the shame that they're feeling based upon whatever gambling activity is going on. Those are advantages. Does anybody else have something they want to throw in there? Okay. Well, then we also know that restrictions tend to be one of the first techniques that we suggest to people who want to stop gambling, who are ready or at least putting up a show for their loved ones. There are several types of exclusions a gambler can self-impose. None of them is without a gap. The first is a responsible gambling technique offered by most online gambling establishments. Pauses and limits are harm reduction techniques that can be used to restrict either availability, that's a pause, or the amount that could be wagered over a period of time, that's a limit. Both of these occur site by site and are not universal restrictions. Many gamblers attempt to use these techniques to prove to themselves or others that they don't really have an issue. Often the outcome is more destructive for a problem gambler as site switching occurs. When limits are reached, a different site is accessed and play begins all over again. Banning generally occurs due to misbehavior on the gambler's part at either a casino or on an app. The discovery of underage gambling, non-payment of debt, cheating, or similar behaviors may get a gambler banned. The banning can be for a period of time or for life. It is a company by company policy. While restrictive, these barriers have large gaps, like this fence, for the persistent gambler to easily get through. Okay. Self-exclusion is a term that many of you are familiar with, but you may or may not understand all the ins and outs here. Self-exclusion is a self-imposed legal restriction to not gamble within a state. Presently, there is no national self-exclusion list, though one has been proposed. Each state has its own regulations regarding self-exclusion, though many are similar. A person can exclude in more than one state, and that is often suggested if the gambler can easily travel to another location. For example, here in New Jersey, it's quite easy to go to gambling sites in New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland. Self-exclusion was established in New Jersey in 2001 to allow self-banning at casino locations. In 2013, this was expanded to include internet gaming. Self-exclusion for sports betting was included alongside the legalization of the activity in 2018. Racetracks and off-track wagering were added in 2022. But it's important to note that until 2024, the application for the self-exclusion program had to be in person. Since 2024, self-exclusion is available with online and video options. In New Jersey, one can pick a 1-year, 5-year, or a lifetime exclusion. Penalty for breaking the restriction is a charge of criminal trespass on the property and a forfeiture of any winnings or buy-ins. At the online level, one is simply blocked from play at the app level. If a problem gambler tells you that they are excluded, it is important to pin them down on exactly what type or types of exclusions they have implemented. I hear this often. I see it in the rooms. Excluding at the site level does not restrict play at another site. Self-exclusion online does not necessarily restrict access to casinos and vice versa. However, it's important to note that many of the larger organizations will restrict a player nationally at all their sites. Notably, Caesars bans a player from all properties during a period of online exclusion. But they're not required to. That's their choice. A major side effect of exclusion at the state level is that the gambling organization is also restricted from marketing directly to the gambler. No more free play, comps, or push notifications during the period of self-exclusion. If they do, the organization can be fined or even lose their license. No matter how much the gambler you work with loses, it isn't worth the loss of licensure in this multi-billion-dollar industry. If your client says they are getting marketing material directed specifically to them, either they did not self-exclude, they might have at the site level, but not at the state level, or they should be encouraged to keep the solicitation and report it to the Division of Gaming Enforcement. While this self-exclusion is more restrictive than pauses and limits or bans at the site level, there are still holes in this fence too. Self-exclusion is not helpful for lottery players, fringe gamblers such as bingo, day traders, and prediction markets, and the enormous array of gambling-like activities that are not regulated through the Division of Gaming Enforcement and such. Blocking apps are useful for online players in addition to self-exclusion. While self-exclusion will block a player from using regulated legal gambling sites, it will do nothing to hinder illegal online play. The more extensive blocking apps will block legal, unregulated, and often gambling-like sites such as day trading, gambling-like gaming apps, sweepstakes, and unregulated offshore sites. Some apps are designed for individuals, some for businesses to prevent employees from gambling. Some schools and universities have instituted blocking software into their Wi-Fi systems to prevent gambling at their locations. Just like the fence in this picture, a determined gambler can find a way to dig under, climb over, or push through the barrier, but not easily. For someone who truly is trying to stop gambling, layering these various levels of self-exclusion with one or more blocking apps may give enough pause between the urge and the execution to prevent the action. Popular apps are Gambian, BetBlocker, GamBlock, and there are others. Are there any such apps that you have found useful for your practice or that your clients have told you about, please share out loud or in the chat to help your colleagues and us. We're always looking for new ones. So let's talk about restrictions. Financial restrictions, traditionally through therapy and in GA, are one immediate action is to restrict the funds. No funds, no fuel with which to satisfy the urges. Just like this chainsaw, it's a cutoff. We cut off the funds, it protects the family, the employer, and others. This valid tool, especially during early recovery, may not always be practical though. Yes, the gambler will often object to this loss of control with no solid foundation. Lots of objections, and we'll tell you how impractical this is and how, you can't do that, I can't live on this, whatever. But an objection is not a practicality issue. There are some, though. Travel for work, people who are single with no one willing to take over their finances are some of the more common. Some have solved this problem with prepaid debit cards or single store gift cards, but still the cards must be refilled often from an account that might still be joint. The joint account may be necessary to receive a direct deposit paycheck or another regular payment. These were not impossible situations to use a prepaid debit card, but there is a burden usually associated with that, often heavy, and it's put on the person who's already burdened by the gambler's previous actions. The person would be needing to transfer funds around, do wire transfers, caretake the funds. Additionally, in an emergency situation, funds may not be accessible when they're needed. If total prepaid debit cards are not practical, there is another relatively new solution. There's a company called TrueLink Financial, founded in 2012, was founded as a respectful way to protect an elderly family member from a financial scam. Since then, it has been found to be useful by a variety of vulnerable populations. It is a prepaid debit card that overlays an existing bank account. The difference between a normal prepaid debit card and this kind of recovery card is that two people are involved, the card holder, which is the gambler, and a card administrator. The card administrator manages the card. That person could be a family member, a friend, a professional, or someone else who helps manage another's finances. Managing in this case for the administrator means a variety of things. Being responsible for getting the card started, of course, but also setting up the toggles on the card for where it can be used, where it cannot be used, more importantly. So it can be toggled to not allow withdrawals from ATM machines. It could be toggled to not be used at any kind of gambling location. You might also toggle for no alcohol, depending on the situation. And those toggles are then in there. Regular transfers from the underlying account can be made into the card so that when the gambler is out, maybe traveling for business or trying to act like a normal person out there with normal money, they can pull out a Visa card. Yes, I can pay for lunch. And it shows up, nobody is the wiser. They don't have to explain why they're only walking around with $10 in their pocket. At the moment, TrueLink seems to be the only one addressing this marketplace. I suspect that others will follow suit over time. So this wasn't just an ad for TrueLink, but they're the only ones I've found, and I keep looking.
And I'll add, if you will, Gene, that I've used this with several of the people that I've worked with, and it's been an incredibly valuable tool because you can track and monitor things that are going on and really kind of cuts through some of the denial that somebody may have about what they're doing or where they were.
Excellent point, Lenny. I want to say that yes, the counselor can be the other person. You're not in charge of you're not, my understanding is you're not necessarily legally liable on the account. You can be the overseer, but you can help when it's appropriate.
I have been in some cases, and again, no, there's no liability to you. It's just a matter of being able to monitor what's going on.
Thank you, Lenny. So I suggest that as a gambler who is in recovery, hopefully sustained recovery, sometimes we feel continuously shamed or punished because we stay in our story. It's there in front of us. I like action. I like to have some dopamine. I like that coming, right? So recovery is not just about what not to do, but what can I do to build a better life and put my desire to be involved to my benefit. That's where I'm calling it actively building my recovery. What can I do for the positive? Every goal needs a plan. So let's start with planning for the finances. Financial plans come in a couple of different traditional shapes. Pressure relief, which is a GA concept. It's gambling recovery centered, but may not have the needed expertise for certain situations. It is run by other fellow members in GA who sit down with anybody who wants to discuss their finances, usually a new person. And a plan is developed for how they're going to pay back their debt, how they're going to make the living expenses. Often, if there's a spouse, they're involved with that. But it is gambling recovery centered. Accountants can be part of this process, not pressure relief, but as another tool. It's personal, of course, but it's not accountants are not necessarily recovery centered. They tend to be very budget oriented and not think through what is needed at the recovery level. GAMFIN is a new source out there that combines both things. It is currently available to New Jersey residents at no or low cost. It is encouraged to be used in conjunction with therapy. It encourages team participation with spouses or other family members. It provides an honest assessment of the financial present and sets some realistic goals. Everything is not going to be paid off by next week or next month. We do know that when new people come in, they're generally looking for that financial relief right away.
And again, I might add that, it is especially useful because people are, coming in with some complex financial situations where, there are investments, there are, IRAs, there are all kinds of different, financial, situations that as a therapist, personally, I don't have a lot of knowledge about. And, you know, while I can make a basic budget for somebody, certainly some of these other issues are way beyond my grade level. So they're very good to have available.
They do have on staff people with expertise in various areas, accountants, certified financial planners, some people with a therapy background. That's great, Lenny, because it is about bringing it all together when it really should be bigger than what happens at pressure relief or more recovery centered. It is geared specifically for gamblers. They also are less likely to be snowed than the accountant was. I do
Mhm.
have to say, just a slight personal story. Back in my accounting days before gambling found me, I sat down with two different clients whose spouses brought them in to make budgets because there was a gambler. I didn't know about gambling recovery, and I go back there, there are people that I need to apologize to because the budget wasn't enough. It needed to be more. Here's the nitty-gritty here. Algorithms, are they foe or are they friends? Algorithms are a data tracking system in which an individual's internet search history and browsing habits are used to present them with similar or related material. Okay, just take that in. They are neutral mirrors of who we are in the online world. They're just neutral right there. They're designed to give us what we want based upon what we've already done. Algorithms are really excited golden retrievers who want to bring you what you've been putting out there, wag their tail, bring you what they think you want because that's what you've been telling them. Well, to a compulsive gambler, online, this may seem like an obvious statement, but please think about it for a moment. Online gamblers have algorithms heavily skewed towards gambling. Feels like should have had a V8 kind of moment. Gamblers whose primary access is not online quite often have gambling algorithms too, because they've been doing research or they're looking up things all the time. No matter how much deleting, self-exclusion, banning, and avoidance happens, the algorithm only knows that the problem gambler wants to know about gambling. That's what they've been told. That's what the algorithm's been told for days, weeks, months, years. Don't like poker anymore? Would you like to see casino? Would you like to see discussions about March Madness? Would you like to see articles about prediction markets? The algorithm says some way, somehow, you want to hear about gambling. And for somebody who has decided they're ready for recovery, the algorithms can be a problem. Remember, they're about pattern recognition, and the problem gambler's pattern is gambling. The patterns that are brought back to the gambler who is doing a best effort to recovery can cause urges, cravings, and relapses. I would like to point out that even for a gambler strong in recovery, the continued notifications, pushes, and feeds may cause doubts and insecurities with those who are not trusting the gambler yet. So there can be a parent or a spouse who says, well, why do you keep getting gambling ads? I thought you self-excluded. You keep getting gambling ads. They may not be directed to you, but they're generally out there because that's what you've been looking at. So trust doesn't get built when somebody picks up someone else's phone and sees that there's just a lot of gambling still being discussed. Think of the problem gambler's algorithm like these wrenches from the toolbox. They're all different sizes, but they are all still wrenches. These are the times that someone glanced at an ad, opened an app, researched the stats. It might seem like different activities, but pattern recognition determined that the common characteristic was a type of gamble, a wrench. Now that is a persistent wrench in their recovery. So let's make a friend with them. Don't be shy. Actively teach the algorithm. Some of us are shy and don't make new friends easily. We sit back and wait for a situation to develop. Others are extroverts, but don't discriminate as to how many we talk to, never lasting long on the same subject. Passively waiting for the algorithm to realize that gambling isn't appealing takes a long time. The amount of time that was spent looking at stats, gambling apps, casino ads since 2018 may be significant. Just like making a friend, being proactive, Starting the conversation, reaching out can produce results much faster. Have your clients pick a few subjects that receive a lot of attention from the gambler when they are online. Go look at dog videos over and over again. Not the same one, lots of dogs. Or politics, or recipes, or how about recovery sites? Anything other than gambling. One needs to do more than just glance at them, though. Glancing is fine, but engagement is better. Like my golden retriever, I'm not just throwing a something instead of a ball. I'm always throwing a stick or a frisbee. I'm adding praise, maybe a small treat, or even a steak. Yes, yes, this is what I want you to give me back. That's how you have to train the algorithm. This is information needed to form new patterns, not just what isn't wanted, but what might be wanted going forward. As a person with lived experience, I understand that a part of my personality responds to a challenge. In early recovery, my dopamine levels dropped significantly. Having something I could actively do to strengthen my recovery was very helpful. Meeting a challenge, though a slow challenge, gave out small levels of excitement, levels that were within reason. That challenge being get that algorithm changed. In talking with others who have actively and consistently sought to teach the pattern, changes in their online footprint took between 30 and 60 days when they actively did it. Talking with someone who tried to wait it out can take a year or more, a year of triggers that they felt they had to fight or to be strong with. Make the algorithm your friend. Slowly, the wrenches will transform to items that we forgot were also tools. Build a library of resources. Having a library of resources, and again, this is for the gambler. I know that the clinicians, the practitioners here, you have wonderful libraries. The gambler needs to build their library too. Have a library of resources at the ready is necessary when urges come on. It is easy to act on an urge if an alternative is not immediately available. Self-help books, actual real books that can be picked up without a device if the device is a trigger. These might be general information on addiction, gambling addiction specifically maybe, and or change or appeal to a specific audience. They're out there. There are books like, for example, Fall In, a veteran with gambling addiction. Great book. Great book if you work with veterans. Meeting lists, are they handy? Are they out there? Do we have paper lists as well as the ones we find on our phone or online? Because the device, again, may be a trigger. There are videos, reels, social media influencers can help us remember how the story will play out if we go back. They can inspire us to keep going and suggest new activities to us. Podcasts that can take the place of a meeting when driving or an urge strikes. There's another resource in the library. Gambling recovery podcasts are becoming more available. Popular ones include Hello, My Name is Craig, All In, Fold'em, Broke Girls Society, the After Gambling podcast, and many, many more. Ask your clients what else they have found. Let them be active in finding this and what they have ready to go. Do you have any? And would you please share these for other practitioners? These are developing so fast, there's no way to keep on top of them all. Additionally, recovery apps. The ability to wake each day to inspiration, motivation, encouragement. There are many recovery apps available, but few are gambling centered. eVive is a great example of such a resource. That's EVIVE for those who don't know of it. It's a daily nudge for a compulsive gambler that one more day is all it takes. Gamban and some other sites also provide more than just banning. So tools come in many shapes and sizes. Everyone has their own set of tools and unique combinations. Look beyond the first two that you're used to picking up and build a recovery toolbox for yourself to hand out to clients and for the clients and the recovering gamblers and the affected others to use as well. Thank you for being part of this. We really appreciate you out there. And I am going to end the slideshow. My contact information is there, as is Lenny's. And see how many hands go up. Yeah, that's what I'm. Stop sharing. There we go, everybody.
Again, there's some good information that people are putting up in the chat room.
Look at that. I now see we have 58 chats out there. I'm so excited. Hi, Kevin. I see your hand up. Thank you.
I just want to say fabulous presentation. And I want to also talk, the eVive app to me was fabulous. Everybody I work with is using it. Some of them use it more than others, but most of them like that, finding out how many days I have, finding out the resources. Because you're like, there's so many resources out there that I find it almost impossible to keep up with them all.
Yeah.
And this way, one of my clients who uses it, he goes, I like it because the articles are short. Because I won't read a long article.
Right.
I'm like, I know you won't. That's why I suggested you do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Nicoletta?
Hi, Nicoletta and Mike Frank here. How are you guys? I want to first of all thank you for the presentation. That was awesome. Good to see you again, Gene. But before I ask the question, TrueLink is interesting because we used it at we run Milestone House 23 years, and we actually used it about 10 years ago. Not for gambling. It was something that helped some of our residents in early recovery. The parents, in most cases, wanted to have some control and insight on, what their loved one was spending, were they going to the liquor store and things like that. It didn't get a lot of momentum. I think maybe partly on our fault. It was a little tricky with the technology at that time, but I can see, I'd love to revisit that with the gambling. I think that would be a great tool. Sort of my question has to do with, in our recovery house, there's different addictions, mostly different types of substance use. Gambling is something that's becoming more pervasive. At Excel Treatment Center, I think I told you, Gene, we have 2 patients right now. But when I was in a sober house, a big activity was poker night. So much of that, Dean, my friend. Yeah. And now I'm just wondering, how do we navigate that thing? Because, I don't want to necessarily be restrictive. And I do think that other activities besides drinking and using is fun. But do we come at it from an angle of, setting more rules and boundaries, or is it more trying to positively reinforce a different, activity that isn't gambling? And what about if the roommate has a gambling addiction and the other one doesn't? So this is kind of a tricky thing, and I'm just wondering what experiences you might or thoughts you might have and how we can work that out.
I will give you my opinion and then open it up to see if anybody wants to give Mike and Nicoletta some thoughts either in the chat or directly. I hear you say you don't want to be restrictive because what if only one person has a gamble? Why? Would you let them bring in a case of beer? Why is this? That when I said this is minimized by the other addictions, it is. Like we don't want to. So yes, there are lots of fun things that can happen. Might people still gamble on the side? Yes, but they might be doing other things too. So you need to make that decision in your sober house, what you are doing about that. I don't have that answer.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give some perspective on this, way back when I worked in my first rehab and we took our residents out to NA meetings, the meetings had 50-50 raffle tickets being sold at the door. Now we've come a long way with that sort of behavior, but that was kind of my initial assessment tool because, our residential counselor was reporting that people were spending $5 and $10 buying lottery ticket or 50-50 tickets. And at the time, their budget for the 28-day stay was $20. So it's useful. But I think my point is that you really do have to monitor that. And if you find that, that's an activity that's going on for a person, and it becomes somewhat of a pattern, again, there's some simple questions to ask and assess, what the extent of the issue is. But I don't think there's a hard and fast rule that you can, totally ban it or totally not.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or discussion points somebody wants to bring up? I just really want to thank you all for being so involved and coming on this presentation. The more, even in the short term I've been with the council, we see more and more people coming to these webinars, which means more and more people are aware. More and more people, the more people who are aware, the more people we can help out there. And so thank you just very much. Lenny, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
Probably not. But again, thank you. And again, it's good to see that we are reaching more audiences. And again, when all of you reach out and touch another person and give them some of the information that we're giving you, it just expands the horizons that much more. And that's what this is all about. So if you know anybody who wants to join us, we have one coming up. It's going to be the final one for PGAM, for Problem Gambling Awareness Month, which is next week. But we're going to be continuing some of these presentations. We have one coming up in April, May, and June, and you'll get notified and information about that when we actually get the links up and scheduled. So stay with us. We appreciate everything that you're doing out there, and we also appreciate you letting us provide you with some more information. And whoever wants my email in the chat, I'm not sure I can do that, but it's Leonard@800gambler.org. Jeannie, maybe you could put that up there for me. Or you can reach me by phone at 973-216-7453.
I'm not as fast at that, Lenny, but I did get your
I
email
see.
in there.
That's good. Because if you
Also, for anybody who's trying to remember all the things that were put in the chat, in terms of other references. If you don't know how to do this, open the chat, hit the three little dots up in the upper right-hand corner of the chat, and there'll be a drop-down box that says save the chat, and it will save to your computer someplace. At that point, I'm done with my technical expertise.
There you go. Thank you, Patricia. The good news is between all of us, we can make this technology thing work. All right. Thanks again. We'll see you hopefully all next week. Same time.